The Mist Effect. Vixen never believed in love at first sight. As a superhero with animal mimicry powers, she had always prided herself on her instincts. Sharp, calculated, and never wrong. That is, until Dr. Mist walked into the Justice League briefing room. "Team, this is Dr. Mist," said Martian Manhunter. "He'll be consulting on the mystical anomalies we've been tracking." Mari McCabe barely registered the introduction. Her enhanced senses had already picked up his scent, sandalwood, and something else, something ancient and otherworldly. When she finally looked up from her tablet, time seemed to slow. Dr. Mist stood there in a tailored midnight blue suit, silver at his temples contrasting with his dark skin. His eyes, were they actually glowing slightly, surveyed the room with calm authority. When he spoke, his voice carried the cadence of distant thunder. "I've studied the artifacts you've recovered. The patterns suggest an awakening of dormant ley lines across 3 continents." Vixen found herself nodding vigorously, despite having no idea what a ley line was. "Any questions?" Dr. Mist asked after his presentation. Vixen's hand shot up. "Yes, could you explain more about everything you just said?" The room fell silent. Batman's cowl somehow managed to look even more judgmental than usual. The next day, Mari visited the Watchtower archives where Dr. Mist was researching ancient texts. She casually strolled in, having spent 45 minutes choosing her casual research outfit. "Oh, Dr. Mist, what a coincidence," she said, trying to sound surprised despite having hacked the schedule database. "I was just doing some research on animals, magical animals." He looked up, a bemused smile crossing his face. "Is that so? Any particular magical animal?" Her mind went blank. "Magic raccoons?" "Fascinating creatures," he replied without missing a beat. "In certain West African traditions, they're believed to be tricksters who can unlock the doors between realms." "Yes, exactly why I'm here," she said, grabbing a random book from a shelf. "Just brushing up on my interdimensional raccoon lore." Later, Flash found her hiding behind a potted plant outside the cafeteria. "Are you staking out the lunch line?" he asked. "Shh, I'm conducting surveillance," she whispered, not taking her eyes off Dr. Mist as he selected a salad. "On Dr. Mist's eating habits?" "It's important intel," she insisted. "Did you know he puts cranberries on his salad but picks around the walnuts? What does that tell you about his personality?" Flash slowly backed away. "That he might have a nut allergy?" By week's end, Mari had accidentally encountered Dr. Mist in 17 different locations. She'd volunteered for monitor duty during his shifts, rescheduled her training sessions to match his, and even taken up meditation in the gardens, coincidentally at the exact time he performed his morning rituals. During a mission briefing, Batman pulled up a map showing recent magical disturbances. "I've analyzed the pattern," Batman began. "These events form a pentagram across—" "Actually," Vixen interrupted, "if you look at it from this angle, the pattern is clearly a heptagram with Neo-Babylonian influences, suggesting a summoning ritual tied to the lunar cycle." The room fell silent again, all eyes turning to her. "What?" she said defensively. "I've been reading up." Dr. Mist raised an eyebrow. "That's remarkably astute, Vixen, although I'd argue the configuration more closely resembles Atlantean runic structures." She beamed. "I was just about to say that." The situation came to a head during a mission to an ancient temple in Peru. The team split up to cover more ground, and somehow, despite Batman's meticulously planned assignments, Vixen ended up paired with Dr. Mist. "These inscriptions suggest we should proceed with caution," Dr. Mist said, studying the stone walls. "The guardian spirits in this chamber can be quite territorial." "I'm not afraid," Vixen declared boldly, channeling the courage of a lion. "I've faced worse." The moment she stepped forward, Dozens of spectral serpents materialized, hissing and lunging. She froze, letting out a very unlion-like squeak. Dr. Mist calmly stepped between her and the spirits, raising his hands in a complex gesture. The serpents paused, swaying hypnotically. "They're not aggressive," he explained. "Just curious. They're asking why you've been following me around all week." Vixen's enhanced hearing couldn't pick up a single word from the ghostly snakes. What? "I'm paraphrasing," he admitted with a small smile. "But they sense intentions, and they're quite perceptive." Her face burned hotter than if she'd channeled the power of a phoenix. "I haven't been following you. We just happen to have similar interests in magical things." One serpent made a sound suspiciously like a snicker. "Is that so?" Dr. Mist turned to face her fully, amusement dancing in his eyes. "And your sudden expertise in Neo-Babylonian summoning rituals and Atlantean runes?" "I'm a fast learner," she mumbled. "Indeed." He waved his hand, dismissing the serpents. "You know, if you're interested in mystic arts, you could simply ask me for lessons. No need for elaborate coincidences." Vixen straightened, dignity somewhat restored. "Would you? Teach me, I mean." "I would be honored," he said with a slight bow. "Though perhaps we could begin with something simpler than interdimensional raccoon lore." She groaned. "You're never going to let me forget that, are you?" "Not in this lifetime," he replied. "Or the next." As they continued through the temple, Vixen realized that maybe her animal instincts hadn't been so wrong after all. Sometimes the most direct path wasn't necessarily the best hunting strategy. "First lesson," Dr. Mist said, as they reached the temple's inner sanctum. "Magic responds to honesty, both with others and with oneself." "In that case," Vixen said, taking a deep breath, "I should admit that I've read exactly 0 books about magic raccoons." Dr. Mist laughed, a sound like distant wind chimes. "Second lesson, everyone starts somewhere. And somewhere," Vixen thought, was exactly where she wanted to be.